Welcome to the Small Business Podcast series, where every week we are interviewing small business owners that support the small business community. And in each week, we go after try to get a different guest. And we've been focusing a lot on agencies throughout the whole podcast series. Today, we have a very special guest, Gina Michnowicz, who's the CEO and Chief Creative Officer at the Craftsman Agency, is a boutique agency, and they focus on storytelling and connecting brands using unique experiences that will help facilitate that interaction with your potential clients. Gina, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jason. I'm happy to be here.
Can you give us that quick introduction as to what your business is and the problems you're solving for your clients?
Yes. Well, I would say in general, the problems we're solving go all the way from brand awareness to really needing to drive business. In some cases, we're helping people establish a brand that is just starting up. And those are really fun moments where you get to figure out what that brand personality looks like in the market. And then we work with the large enterprises as well. And really, most of the time, we're trying to go all the way from brand to demand with our campaigns and programs.
What when you've been doing this for a while, and what kind of inspired you to start and get into this side of the marketing agencies?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about how many years. So it's gotten to the point. Um, yes, I really wanted to do something more creative. I was in a management consulting firm, and I had kind of the digital side of the house and was leading the charge with a couple of partners in the firm. And just decided that I really wanted to really break out and be much more creative, and ended up starting an agency with somebody a number of years ago, and came to the same point where I just felt like I wanted to really focus on the craft of marketing and creativity, and not so much on the data bits. And while that's all important for lead gen and all of those types of things, I really wanted to be a craftsman and really come up with ideas that were going to break through and infuse art and entertainment and storytelling. And since we started the Craftsman, we have told a lot of great stories.
What do you find is the most important thing when it comes to storytelling and really that helping the client of so not necessarily just your client, right? But the client's client of what's that importance of why having a story inside of those inside of your marketing will help make such great connections with those clients.
I mean, honestly, as humans, we connect with stories, and that's been for many, many centuries and over time, decades. It's we know that telling a story versus just giving kind of the bits and pieces, like on the high tech side, for instance, it could be a very, very dry piece of content, or it could be one that tells the story maybe in a unique way. And sometimes that does come in the form of like an interactive wall where you show the history of the product at a conference, and people sign their name. That was just a really easy installation, but also connected people with where they were fitting on the journey of the product. So, I mean, I think that ends up stories just connect. They connect us as people, and they make us understand something that maybe isn't quite as maybe something that's a little esoteric that we might not understand right off the get go.
Excellent, excellent. When you started the Craftsman Agency, as you were getting going, and this is talking to those small business owners out there that are maybe early stages or really they're at a stuck point. What helped you get through those first few years where it's always a hurdle and it feels like a grind to the spot where you are today?
I mean, honestly, 2020 was kind of hit in sort of the beginning part of our history. Um, and that getting through that was, that was enough in itself. But I would say that there's a couple of things that I've learned, and when I take the eye off the ball on them, it makes a big difference in terms of the results of the business. And so making sure that you are working on the business and not just in the business. And a lot of times that has to do with bringing the vision that you have for the company to life, but then also driving the top line. That is, as founders and small business owners, we tend to be the people that are doing a lot of the selling. Well, I'm proud to say I'm not doing all of the selling anymore. There definitely are a lot of points in time where I should be doing more of that. And I don't actually think of it as selling. For our clients, we're really thinking about how are we going to solve that marketing and sales problem for them and challenge of how maybe their brand's perceived in the market or just the results of their content and creating better content. The other thing is that manage your expenses wisely. Don't grow too fast. I think one of the things that everyone always assumes is that you just be like, okay, we're growing, we're expanding so much, and so now we just need to, hire a bunch of employees. Well, what that presents is an reoccurring expense that is your most costly expense in a services based business. So you really do want to be very careful about, looking at revenue per head and considering, could a freelancer do this? Is this really going to be a job that's going to be need to sustain, or is it just for this specific project? Because honestly, you can bring in a freelancer that can end up filling that void at the time, and then helping keep you really profitable.
Yeah, those make great points of being able to understand the actual business model itself and how you stay with profit and how you can continue to feed the machine as with sales and continue to operate it when those sales don't necessarily come in the door is critical elements to how to grow any business when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
What would you say is the big differentiator between the Craftsman agency, and others in the similar space of storytelling?
I would say a lot of people say that they are storytellers, but they truly aren't. I think the art of storytelling is very unique. It's not content marketing. Um, it's, trying to figure out how to tell that story in a medium that would be unexpected. Sometimes that's in real life. Sometimes that's through a brand partnership. So you're seeing, like, you're seeing the studios do a lot of great brand partnerships that are telling the story for Barbie, for instance, and continuing to reinforce. It's also right now we're seeing a lot of those with Wicked, for instance. So I would say that we really are truly storytellers, and we also have some very, kind of unique capabilities to get in and make that integrated campaign to be able to publish across all of the channels. That is also something that's very difficult. Every social media channel is not the same, or platform is not the same. And so your social post should not be the same across all platforms. They're all intended to be different, and the content should be revised based on the platform.
Absolutely. If you've ever opened your laptop ready to grow your business and 2 hours later closed it, realizing you've gotten nothing done, but you've researched office chairs, you've ordered lunch, and you've planned out the next 3 dinners, all the things that you wouldn't typically do to work on your business. Yeah, I've done that too. I'm Jason Pond. I'm the host of the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, and I want you to achieve your breakthrough. But we do that through the community I built. I built the Momentum Community. The Momentum Community is a place where we meet every week. We talk about your goals, where you want to get with your business, and then we track them. And we use the Momentum dashboard to do that. We make sure you're moving forward every week, and it's accountability like you've never seen in a community forum. I want you to be part of that community. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. What's a recent project or initiative that you have worked on that has really energized you and maybe brought back if you were falling off on energy, or if you, um, just help be like, this is exactly why I'm doing this?
I've had a couple of different circumstances. So one is a client coming back that left a company and now he's at a new company and he wants to bring us on. And his words were, I looked at the roster of, agencies and it's large, but none of them met the level of quality and ideas that, quality of work and ideas that the Craftsman does. And so that kind of just energizes you because it's a client that has really bought off on how you're doing it, how the approach is, and that the end result ends up, being good for the client as well as their company. So I would say that energized me. And then I'm working on a campaign right now where we came up with a campaign concept. I can't talk about it because it's not in market yet, but it's a brand partnership, and just really excited about how this campaign is going to unfurl in the market and how it's so tied so well with the brand, but could also be a brand campaign that can stand on its own 2 feet. And I always like finding those kinds of things that you can continue to run a campaign, and have different beats that are going to add excitement to the campaign.
Yeah, that's very excellent. There's always great to have those things where you're just like,
Mhm.
this is why I love
Yes.
to do what I do and continue to work forward in the business. Looking forward, looking in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, where do you see storytelling marketing going?
Well, I think that a lot of people think that chat is going to do it and AI is going to tell the story. And what I found is that ChatGPT can be a good partner, and kind of a thought partner in helping sort of round out some things, but it is definitely not going to output the piece of work that is going to win an award or get the results you want. Um, and I think that being able to understand and leverage AI is going to be in the creative space important. Also, to rely on that, you're going to have to come up with the idea that other people haven't thought of so that you can put it into Chat GPT and it's not going to be, it's not going to be basically pulling all of the mediocre work that everybody has done over the course of 10 years, right? So I think that AI and how we play with it is going to be important. Um, it is my hope, and I think that we're seeing this with paid performance, that you really do not see the kind of performance, when you're pushing paid media if you don't have brand awareness, and you also it's very tied to the quality of content. And so having brands create less, I've been saying this for so many years, but I'm going to say in the next 5 years brands are going to have to create less because the platforms, especially the digital ones, are not going to serve it up if it's not quality content. And we're starting to see some of that.
I was looking at an interesting post earlier today, actually, at the recording, and this was recorded early in January for those listening. That was talking about how quality versus quantity, and the the quality that you're thinking of, and when somebody says quality, may not actually be the quality in which you think it is, and to be very
Sure.
cognizant of what it you're putting out into the world and trying to make sure that it is fits yourself, your
Mhm.
brand, especially if you're doing personal branding inside of it. And that has
Yeah.
it has been um it's been such a great conversation, Gina, to get to know more about the importance of storytelling and how your business is really helping, lead the way in this with a very unique approach. And it's very amazing what you're doing for the community. Are you ready to jump into our lightning round?
Of course. Sounds fun.
Excellent. They're quick hitting questions that are not hard. Well, not all of them.
But then you say that, and then they end up being hard.
Well, that's why I said not all of them. There's one that always gets everybody. Like they always have to stop and think, but it's really not that difficult.
I'm just kidding.
Um, and they're meant to be fun and quick. But the first two are simple. First one, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How about cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
If you could grab only one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. It should be my husband answering this. Um, I can it be something I don't have?
Yeah.
I don't own one, but a shotgun.
Okay. There you go. That's fine. How about a favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Um, uh, oh my gosh. I have so many. They're normally from Walt Disney, and I cannot think of any of them right now. Um, uh, do what you love.
Okay. Fair enough. How about a book that has influenced your life the most?
The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz.
Good one. Good one. And the biggest obstacle you have had to overcome and one lesson you have learned from it.
I my first agency was with a really good friend, and I learned a lot about co-founding a business with a friend, and how that can mean that you don't have a friend. So I would say that was probably my hardest obstacle. And it's not that I've learned not to do business with friends. I just learned how to do it differently.
Yeah, that going into business with friends or family can be a very, very challenging thing. And a lot of people don't realize it until very late in the game or
Yeah.
years down the road. And the damage at that point has been done. And it
Yeah.
can be a very challenging experience nonetheless.
Yes.
Gina, what is the best way that our listeners could collaborate with you if they want to bring storytelling into their marketing?
You can find us at thecraftsmanagency.com. Or you can also catch me on LinkedIn, Gina Michnowicz. Those are probably two good ways.
Excellent. That website and her LinkedIn profile will be linked in the show notes. And for all of those listening out there, it has been a great conversation with Gina. Understanding the importance of storytelling in your marketing can make or break the difference of what the future could look like. And I encourage you to investigate further. And if you want to reach out to Gina, do so with those show notes. And for those of you that are listening, you can find other great interviews with other agency owners and small business owners out there at this playlist right here. And until next time.